One of the more difficult things about doing this whole videoing everything I'm doing is trying to figure out where to set up the camera to where it picks up the work and it's not in my way and I don't block the shots. Hmm. Oh, lordy, 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 lordy. Well, in today's episode, the truck is back on the ground temporarily because, it's going to go back up so that way I can do other work to it. But I got the rear drop kit installed, which I should have done before I started working on the front, but it actually worked out just fine. So I don't have to rework the front end anymore. I'm now taller than the truck. It'd be nice if I could actually put the bed back on, but I got to do some cleaning up in the shop, get the cherry picker around, yada, 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 to lay the bed back down so that way you can actually see it. But it all comes out looking pretty freaking nice. The motor's down in low, the motor's set back, center of gravity is down low. I got my 9-inch, I still got to send out and get worked on. I'm rambling to myself, but for right now, I think after all the work I did yesterday, I got to start cleaning up my tools again, get them organized, and then I'm going home and make ribs.
And to get things started off right, I bring out the torch. There's actually a lot of footage that's missing because I didn't pay attention to my camera at all. Uh, some corrupted files that I can't seem to recover, and a couple of times where I thought I actually hit record, but I just didn't. You can actually see in the video that I actually got the shackles for the leaf springs on the very rear installed. That was pretty simple. And you see me bring out the torch, and that is to cut the rivets out on the spring hangers for the front side. Yes, that's what I'm doing. I'm cutting the rivets out, cut those spring hangers out, so that way I can put the new ones in that reposition it. And I think it gives me, I think that's a 4-inch drop kit from DJM. Not entirely 100% sure off the top of my head. I got to go back through and look through all my paperwork and whatnot that's actually on the table in the shop. But yeah, there's a lot of footage missing, and some of the footage I was going to share, but then again, thought it was too boring, and then it also worked out in my favor because I forgot to hit record, and again, corrupted footage was redoing the motor mounts. I don't show it in here, even though I do have the clip. I don't show it because honestly, it's just more useless information. This is already going to be a fairly long video, but the I wasn't paying close enough attention when I set my motor in the first time, and it turns out I was actually sitting on top of my steering rack. Like there was no, you couldn't see light between the oil pan and the steering rack, so I had to pick it up enough so that way I can get some clearance in there. Again, trying to keep it as low as possible, and yeah, those type of things. But the ribs I mentioned earlier, they turned out pretty good. My dad ate probably about half of them, but it was one of those things. Got some ribs, and I said, let's just go ahead and cook them up. Trying to think of what else to talk about to kind of fill this empty space here, and I got nothing. Actually, while I'm recording this, I'm also going over some personal notes and whatnot and trying to figure out how in the world I'm going to do an interview tomorrow, or how well I'm going to do an interview tomorrow, because I, me and interviews don't get along quite well. You can ask my current boss. It took him 3 times to interview me before he finally realized, let's give this guy a chance. And then he's like, shoot, I should have hired you the first time. But I do not interview well at all. Uh, Me talking to a microphone behind a screen is probably about the most energetic and most personality some people get to see out of me. Which it cracks up some of the guys I actually work with They're like, you talk more about absolutely nothing behind a screen than you do at work. Because I'm at work, it, to a fault, a little bit overtly serious, but that ain't no big deal. But also, in continuing with what I'm actually working on screen, is getting the truck lowered, get the ride height correct. And you'll see it a little bit later. I actually take the 9-inch housing I mentioned about sending it off. No, I'm just going to dry assemble it, everything in the shop, because I wanted to put my matching rear wheels on, and they have a 4x4.5-inch bolt pattern in comparison to the 5x5.5-inch that's on this rear end right here. But yeah, you'll get to see that coming up here shortly.
The guy that knows absolutely nothing about what the heck he's actually working on, attempting to do something with a truck that was never meant to do what he wants it to do, is going to start working on the rear end. Because I have parts sitting in corners, and I need to start cleaning up a little bit. So this is the 9-inch housing that my stepdad gave to me. This is the 9-inch trunk my stepdad gave to me for this project, even though it has the, I want to say they're like 430 gears and a drag racing spool in it. So no corners, but for now, I want to get the awesome big, ET, DOT, or whatever slicks in my matching rear wheels. I want to get them on the truck. I want to see how this is supposed to come together so that way I can take it all apart again and have the proper game plan. I'm in a state of, I need to see definitive change to see my progress. I got a lot of little stuff going on inside the cab that I'm taking snippets of here and there. Uh, I'm about tired of recording welding, so I'll bring you all back in whenever that's completed. But for right now, we got this 9-inch housing, 9-inch chunk. I only have one stud in it because I just put it in just to make sure I knew what I was doing before I hit record. A box or a package of studs. So let's get to it. Oh yeah, my axles. Ta-da! These are just Moser axles. Nothing special. So, and what I have to do this, I have an impact rated socket. It's a little bit on the longer side, but the shank of the stud actually fits in there. I got to make sure I don't lose any of these. I say not to lose them and I start throwing them everywhere. But anyway, I'm going to press in these studs with the C-clamp and the socket. If I'd stop throwing everything on the ground. What was that? It wasn't important because I don't know what it was. So that goes in there like such. That goes over the top. And we'll slack on the C-clamp. Kind of get it seated square-ish. And twist. I might need a different C-clamp that ain't bent. See if I can find my other one. Maybe this one will work. spin until it'll stop. I think that's pretty good. Rinse and repeat. God dang it. I meant to put some of this on there on the stud. Blue Loctite. If it's only 2 of them, I may not worry about it. I just got to remember to do the rest. So, it just means whenever this thing has to come apart and it needs new studs or anything like that, future Kyle is going to be mad at past Kyle, which is about par for the course at this point. But just a dab. I just want something. But the objective is, like I stated earlier in my nonsense rambling, is I want to see the truck with the components installed that I bought for it. I got the rear disc brake kit over there in the corner too, and I'd like to go ahead and get that set up so that way I can start ordering brake lines, because I have my I bought a flare tool kit so that way I can make my brake lines. I'm working on the brakes on the inside and outside for that little adapter plate and new old stock master cylinder and brake pedal and everything. And I want to get this stuff, you know, starting to look like a normal truck instead of just me constantly working in circles on stuff I've already shown you. Although there will be a lot more bodywork episodes once I get to that point, but I'm working myself in circles. So to me, bodywork and paint is after all the chassis work. 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Just making sure I didn't lose any. Or while my motor's at the machine shop getting done and whatnot, I have time to do body work. Which means my truck is probably still won't be ready by the end of next year, which is sad, but it may mean I beat my goal of currently 2028. Because some things seem to just take a little bit of extra time to get it right. Which I know a lot of us car guys watch, like Freiberger and Finnegan and Dolce. They can pull something out of a junkyard and make it run and it seems badass, but there are certain things in my mind that prevent me from doing such things. I can't just get it okay. I can't just, you know, it runs, it drives, it may not be perfect. Which again, perfection is, I think somebody said it before, perfection is the enemy of progress or something like that. But cheap clamp screws about stripped out, which is strange for an Acme thread. Feels like it's binding up. But I'm not aiming for perfect. Hence, those of you who have seen the work I was doing on the bed to cover up that gas cap door, it ain't perfect. It ain't going to be perfect. For one, I've never done body work before. And two, I intend to go fast enough down the road where you're not going to notice any imperfections like that. The interior, I keep going back and forth on exactly what I want. I know what racetracks or race classes I want to run in, so I have certain guidelines there. One reason why I never cut the firewall, I didn't move the motor back, because it's, for one, it's not a pro mod vehicle. It's a street truck. To me, this is going to be a true street legal race car. Nothing against those guys who build those 6-second cars and that are legally able to go down the road. It's just, that is a lot for a vehicle to go down the road. I'm not going to have creature comforts in this because I yanked them all out. Half of them were already ruined and whatnot anyway. It has no radio. AC and heater system, that's all gone. It's ended up in a scrap bin. So I got some plates I need to install on the firewall to cover up those holes, but that ain't no biggie. But to me, this would be a true street legal race truck. And if I have to get the engine hoist to help move this thing after I assemble it on this table, which I know I'm going to, I'll do just that. The paint that's on it is really just a Rust-Oleum rust inhibitor, and got all sorts of lubricating, penetrating oil, water disbursement on the inside of this thing to prevent it from rusting. Can't talk. Let go. There we go. I think the casting part's about stripped out. There we go. And shut up. There's that. Now to move that heavy thing into its socket over here. And in case it ain't obvious, a lot of these self-painted parts, and shoot, even like the oil pan for the transmission and whatnot, they've been painted. They look nice. It's still really tall. Get one of my cubes. There we go. All right, I'm more centered up on that now. What was I saying? Oh yeah, a lot of these painted parts that I've ordered and painted myself and whatnot, they're still getting scratched up. But I'm also not in the final assembly stage of anything quite yet. So, nuts, washers, lock washers. Yeah, they're all scratched up, and I'm not entirely too worried about it. All right, there's that. Now all I got to do, I'm not going to put gear oil or worry about a gasket and silicone and all that stuff at the moment, because like I said, this is going to have to come back apart. So I'm not going to fuss over it too much. Do I not have a soft blow hammer? No, I do not. What I do have is a piece of 1x from something. That might be why it looks like it has hammer marks on it to begin with. Ain't quite perfect. is that not seating all the way? Because I don't have a gasket on it. There's that. Oh, that's fun. I'm rocking on something, and does that mean it's uneven? Okay then. See what it's like on this side. Yeah, it looks like somebody's beat on this thing before. And a little bit of a gap there. So, make sure all these land on the towel. How many of these can I actually put a washer on? Looks like all of them so far. Ooh, okay. Washers are directional. Now, which direction is supposed to be up, which side is supposed to be down, not entirely sure. But I'm going to put the flat side to the housing. I have lock washers. These are some thick freaking lock washers. And down nuts. Yep, these are directional as well. Either that or that's just something from manufacturing. Again, no gasket, no silicone, because this is just for dry fitting purposes only. Although when I do stab the axles, I am going to put a little bit of, I don't know, I need to ask BK about that. See, put a little bit of grease on the splines to help it go. I could have taken one of those with me. That was like a, I don't think it's a 9/16. It is a 9/16. Wow. Cool. Well, I have that. All I need is a ratchet. Just you always have these ones down here you can't put a socket on, so you got to use a wrench. Even a ratcheting wrench won't fit in. I'm sure there's a proper torque spec for these, but I don't know it. Just going to do it good and tight. Ta-da! Another reason why I'm doing this is to make sure all my parts work before putting it on the truck, and then trying to figure out what parts I need to replace and which ones need to be worked or massaged. One thing that's going to suck though, I'm going to put this thing in, and then I'm going to have to pull the axles back out whenever I get ready to do the gear change in my limited slip work. But again, dry runs, you do what needs to be done. Trying to see if I can get a good, yeah, right up in here. It's kind of a little bit mushroomed and kind of burred over. So I'm going to see if I can find a sanding drum, kind of bring that back around just a little bit. Okay, I'm back with the microphone actually attached to my shirt this time. So what I was saying before I realized I didn't have my microphone on was I got to pull the axle out, which I already did, to install the brake caliper assembly. But I had to go into town just now to get some hardware for the axle flange side of things. And those of you who actually do this quite frequently know that it has a special type of bolt to where it actually fits in there, because it is kind of a tight fit between the actual housing and flange and the bolt head assembly. So I'm going to see if I can get into frame here. I got too much stuff in the way as always. So focus. I have to zoom in just a little bit. This is a standard, or pretty standard, grade 8 bolt that I took to the belt grinder and just put two flats on it approximately 180 degrees apart from each other. I don't think it's going to ruin the tensile strength of it that much. Not only that, this is not super critical to load bearing, but it does fit in the hole like it's supposed to now, because I did try it with just the hex portion and it wouldn't sit in there right. In fact, it caulked the mounting assembly away in such a way that I thought I ordered the wrong bolt pattern for that kit. And yeah, but anyway, just grind two flats on it. That light for the background, but yeah, ground two flats on it so that way it actually fits in there like it's supposed to. So we'll zoom back out. out, not in. And then I'll continue on with the rest of my build process. Actually, I might need to move the camera to a better angle, but I'll bring you around whenever I get close to putting things together, which honestly ain't going to be long. So here goes the axle. There it goes. That needs to go back that way. Where's that other? And in the drawing, it actually shows this keeper plate coming up from the bottom where this top side is free. Which I got this slid in there a little bit too far now. Yep. There we go. It's like back and forth, back and forth. It'd actually probably be easier if the brake shoes were off, but I don't want to deal with brake shoes. Set this like this, which again, I may have to. Yep. Looks like I may have to take the brake shoes off. Darn it. Because I don't even have room to, well, actually, let's pick this up just a little bit. So that way I can rotate the axle. And now I can put that in there like such. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. Awesome. Leave it to me to do something the hard way. Does that need a washer on it? Nope. It's not showing a washer in the diagram, so. Might need a short socket or shorter socket. Ow. There we go. Is this going to fit all the way in there? Probably not. Nope, I'm still going to need an extension. There we go. Yeah, Yeah, I think it'd be much easier to do this without the brake shoes on.
Okay, I have to clarify something because I don't know if I ever go back and correct myself. After looking at the parking brake shoe assembly for this Willwood disc brake kit, the axle has to be out of place in order to install the brake shoes. So I am actually doing it the correct way. That's the reason why there is a hole in the axle for access to the axle housing flange uh, bolts. So again, ignore that information about having to take the brake shoes off because, for one, I hate dealing with springs anyway. But there's a reason why there is a hole in the face of the axle so that way you can access the nuts on the inside of that assembly, because I would have to go back and refilm some things, but there is I, I I don't know how you would replace those shoes or install those shoes with the axles in place, just because the face of the axle is so wide. But yeah, we'll get back to it now.
All right, big ass dinner plate. Where are we at? See if I can. Nope, ain't that one. Ain't that one. Ain't that one. There we go. That looks freaking awesome. Now I'll bring you around to the other side so that way. Let's find that other dinner plate. There's one caliper. Actually, I think what I'm going to do now is take the 8.8 out of the springs there and put this 9-inch in place, and then I'll do everything else while it's there. That sounds like a pretty decent idea. Well, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, 9-inch is in the truck. It took some finagling and whatnot. There were some geometry issues going on with the axle flip kit meant for the truck with the original rear end and this one. So there's a little bit of tweaking that needs to go on, but this is a dry run to, so that way I can put shiny parts in place and feel good about, making progress. But yes, the hand-me-down third member is into the hand-me-down 9-inch housing. Got the Moser axles in place. Got the Woodwood brakes mostly installed. I got to take the wheels and tires back off and actually put the calipers on and run the parking brake cable. But I am exhausted. It has been 95 degrees with like 75+% humidity. I am drenched. I am exhausted. And we'll pick up there later. I do like that purple bearing cover though.